Hi, I'm Amy Wilkins, leadership coach, former media exec, and your host of Thriving in the Messy Middle. This is a space for women leaders navigating those in between seasons, the moments when things feel uncertain, stretched, or messy, and you're trying to find your footing without losing yourself. Some episodes are conversations with remarkable women leaders sharing the lessons they've learned along the way. And other times, it's just you and me, slowing things down and naming what's really going on. Think of this as a place to reset, reflect, and reconnect with what matters most. Because thriving isn't about having it all figured out. It's about learning how to grow, lead, and move forward, even when things feel messy. So we've all heard the phrase survive or thrive. And you already know where I land on that. It's why this podcast is called Thriving in the Messy Middle. But a recent conversation with Melissa Grady Diaz brought a fresh take. Thriving isn't something that just happens. It's something we choose. And you can feel the difference. When you're in survival mode, everything tightens. You become focused on getting through the day, managing what's right in front of you, just so you can hold it all together. There's no space for creativity, and possibility evaporates. And that feeling isn't just in your head. When we're in survival mode, our brain actually narrows what we can see and process. It's trying to protect us, so it prioritizes what feels urgent over what's possible. And it's not just how we think, it's how we feel in our body. When we're in that survival state, we're wired for protection, which simply suppresses our creativity and self-expression, which makes sense until it doesn't, because survival mode actually does serve a purpose. That protective shield steps in when something matters, but it was never meant to be where we live. And if we stay there too long, it starts to cost us. It impacts us physically and mentally and relationally. There's a quiet resignation that can creep in if we aren't paying attention. We actually can feel the lights dim, like you're here but not fully expressed. And if you're in a leadership seat, you don't just feel that, you bring that with you. Now let's compare that to thriving. When you're in thrive mode, something opens. That's when ideas start to flow and you see options you couldn't see before, which unleashes you to create instead of just react. And there is research that backs this up. Psychologists call it a broaden and build effect. When we feel even a little safer or more supported, our thinking actually expands. We become more creative and resourceful. It literally unlocks possibility. Now, I've lived both, and I can tell you, survival mode can sneak up on you. I went through a season like that, and it was a hard one. And while nothing external changed overnight, the shift came from a moment of truth. I realized how much time and energy I was pouring into things I couldn't control. And I had this very clear thought. If this is my one life, why am I choosing to stay in misery? That's when things started to shift. And not because everything suddenly got easier. It absolutely didn't. But because I made a decision. I decided to move toward thriving. And that decision changed my actions. I started telling the truth about what was really going on with me. I talked to my family and shared it with friends. I engaged my mentors, and I brought in extra support. For me, that meant hiring a leadership coach, someone with no dog in the fight who could help me see what I couldn't see and challenge the stories I was stuck in. And then something subtle but powerful began to happen. It didn't shift all at once, but I found my voice in meetings where I might have stayed quiet, and I asked for help instead of pushing through alone. Those decisions created movement, which helped build momentum. And before I knew it, I was in flow. I was full of energy and ideas. Now, the following year, My team had one of the strongest years we'd ever had and exceeded our goal by 35%. But the thing I remember most isn't the number. It's the moment my team was recognized for their incredible achievement. I was so moved I nearly cried. I realized that what had changed wasn't just performance, it was how I was showing up as a leader. Thriving doesn't start when everything around you changes. It starts when your state changes. And from there, your thinking expands, opening you up to new actions, and your results begin to follow. So if you're in a survival season right now, keep this handy. Survival isn't the enemy. It's often a signal that something matters and is worth exploring. But it may also be a sign that a protective state has overstayed. And that's when the question becomes, what am I protecting? It only takes one small step to create movement. And while it still might feel messy, I promise you the shift from surviving to thriving will be worth it. So if things feel messy right now and you're operating in survival mode, what's that one small step you can take? Thank you so much for listening today. I hope something you heard gave you a little clarity, or maybe just a sense that you're not alone in this season. The messy middle isn't something we pass through once. It shows up again and again, and each time we meet it with a bit more awareness, a bit more choice, and a lot more self-trust. If this episode resonated, follow the show so you don't miss what's next. And if someone came to mind while listening, share it with them. That's how this community grows. You'll find links and resources in the show notes and more ways that we can work together at chooseaw.com. And I'll leave you with this reminder. You are the most worthwhile project you will ever work on. So until next time, keep thriving, even in the messy middle.